Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another high level game of StarCraft 2. Today in the bottom left spawning as the blue Protoss, the currently teamless Classic. And in the top right is our red Terran player playing for Shopify's Rebellion. It can only be one. It is ByuN. Second gas being started here immediately for our red Terran player. As the Shopify Terran seems to want to open up with a 2-gas Reaper into Factory type of build order. Slightly different than what we usually see in this matchup. It's not a very common opener. And there are some good reasons for that as well, why this isn't a common opener. Out of the double gas barracks, you're cutting 3-4 SCVs as a Terran. And on top of that, there's not that much aggression that you can really do. And it's always fairly obvious what is happening. As a Protoss, you can scout whether it's a Reaper first, whether it's a Marine first. Often like this, you can figure out if there's going to be a factory in main or outside of the main. So you can make some good adjustments based on that. There's really a lot of info that you can get. And you can get very solid responses as well as a Protoss player. And at the end of the day, fairly often this ends up with the Terror not dealing any damage. Get him good info and maybe forcing a battery. But just being behind 3-4 SCVs of what they usually should be. And that's not ideal. First unit is going to be a Reaper. I would have loved for this probe to just stand close by to the barracks, throw down a pylon there so you see whether it's going to be a reactor as a follow-up or a second Reaper. I think it's really important for Protoss to know that, because that might inform you on whether you want a battery on the low ground, perhaps, or maybe a battery on the high ground in case you don't have a Reaper wall like this time around. In this type of scenario, in my mind, it would be perfect for a Protoss player to just get a battery up on the high ground or get a battery up in the low ground in that mineral line and then just keep one adept on the high ground. Like, you need to split your units against Reapers, and 2 Reapers, they really do pose a significant threat to your worker line. If the Terran does kill 3-4 workers here, Terran's in a fine spot, and all of a sudden that delayed command center, which, let's face it, is pretty delayed. They started at 220. Usually a command center starts at, well, 138, 139. So this is a solid 40 seconds later. That's about, 3.5 to 4 workers that you're missing. Double Reaper makes its way in towards the main base. Classic not completely in position. There goes the first probe. Here comes the second probe that's going to get taken out. These Reapers are going to be jumping up as well. Third probe gets taken out. Oh my god. 4 workers go down and all Reapers stay alive. A terrible start here for Classic, struggling to keep up with the talented Terran player. Now another advantage for the Terran is that the starport with the mine drop follow-up is just a lot quicker. ByuN has already spotted the fact that there is a Twilight Council. Ooh, gonna get more probes maybe here. Yes, 1 more gets taken out. Perhaps 2 more can get taken out. 3 more workers go down here. Reaper might even make it out alive. Ooh, grenade barely doesn't hit anything. 1 more shot. Yep, Reaper does go down in the end, but this is what? 7, 8 worker kills. That is huge. That is super big. That actually is massive. And like I was mentioning before I got cut off by this double Reaper Hellion attack, the mine drop is so much quicker than it usually is. Now that's no problem if Protoss is playing Stargate, but for some reason Classic decided to go for the Twilight Council into the robotics facility. I mean, it's a fine build order, but you need to keep your units at home. You can't just move on the map. Well, unless you get a cancel in this bunker, but I think you're just barely going to be... too late. Yeah, I mean, once these Marines get in, that sucks. Mines are going to start dropping. You can burrow, unburrow these to deny mining time for even longer. 1 should be dropped here and then. No, you want to split that for sure. 1 mine in the natural, 1 mine in the main. We're going to see 1 more mine being dropped in here. There's not a lot of dead space on this map though, and that is frustrating. Look at that beautiful unburrow action here that ByuN is using. This is so cool to see. It's not going to unburrow a final time, but there's so much mining time that has been delayed. Look at that. Even kind of faking dropping it initially there. Can retarget a couple of times, can unburrow once more. ByuN is playing the game of his life so far. It has to be playing pretty fast as well, actually. It's not being that fast. Blink not done yet. Third base is on the way. Medevac escapes as well. So for the small cost of 2 mines, 4 workers have gone down, and at the same time maybe 500-600 minerals, maybe 400-500 minerals would be more accurate, in mining time has been lost. This has been the most useful medevac in the history of medevacs. This guy's gonna get a Medal of Honor. Ooh, if he ever gets home though. These stalkers there on the path of sniping it. There we go. Is there still a boost available? Yes, there is right now. ByuN not quite quick enough though. before the medevac receives its Medal of Honor. It's going to get taken out. Do have another tool of harassment here, and as the Stalkers are now on the map, this Raven might be capable of doing something. Not a huge fan of a Raven on this map, because there's no real good dead space it can sit in. I guess this is a dead space it could potentially sit in. I'm not even sure if this can be reached by Stalkers or not. I actually am just not sure. I just don't know. I really just don't know. Come on, start shooting. Could even just send this Raven back home at this point. Use it to kill any potential observers. But ByuN's in a fairly good position right now. 48 workers against 50. Infrastructure for Classic is extremely delayed. I mean, these 5 extra gates are great. They should have finished already at this point. There is a forge actually. Okay. Forge is important too. It's going to allow Classic to just defend a little bit more with this Stalker type of composition. And maybe use Zealots for run-bys. That's usually what we see when we go for attack upgrades. A heavier Stalker Sentry Force, Immortals, Zealots used for run-bys, not so much in the initial army composition. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of right now. See a couple of Zealots are being warped in. They'll either come in as a flank, most likely, or at the very end of the engagement, it's like cutting off reinforcements. There's a lot of purposes that these Zealots can kind of fulfill. Have to wait and see what they're going to be doing here. First mine might get sniped down. No, control out of ByuN is good. He's going to move over towards the far right side. There's double batteries here. Oh, this is a lot of Zealots. There's no sentries in this army. This is going to be such a tricky hold. Combat shield is not actually here though yet, and neither is the +1. These tanks didn't quite siege up in time, and without combat shield, Classic might actually just be capable of beating this army. I am surprised how well that fight went for Classic, but even despite, you know, the great start of the fight, taking out both of these tanks for basically free, still feels like ByuN is in control of this game. 2 more medevacs are being popped out soon, and we're already at 4 at this point. In the moment combat shield finishes up, as well as concussive shells, we have our +1 attack already done for the Terran. ByuN's going to go across the map one more time. Don't forget, this was all done of a very low gas count here for Classic. Just now going up to, what is it, 5 gases. Before this, been mining on 2 gas for a very long time. That means that tech is difficult to get to. Second Immortal being popped out is going to get sniped down immediately here by this beautiful Bioforce. Mine hits are going to be pretty big here. Zealot's taking a lot of damage. Stalker's being targeted down by these Marauders. Now we see the focus kind of shift back. Ooh, Classic. Can you actually chase here? I don't think you can, and ByuN agrees. Just stims forward, is going to continue targeting down more and more Stalkers. Now we'll need to start kiting back a little bit, I think. New Zealot Warp-in is here. Immortal still very far away from finishing, but with this Zealot Warp-in, I do believe that Classic will be capable of at least holding on for now. ByuN does have a lot of reinforcements coming though. This is 4 mines, 4 Marauders and 4 Marines. 4, 4, 4, that's 12 units. Then 2 more medevacs as well, make that 14 new units being added on to this army. Third base finally setting up as well here for ByuN, who still has more workers than his opponents. This early game was so good for the Terran player. It's beautiful to see. And these rocks take a long time to die, to get destroyed here. Not the biggest bio army, but it's a bio army that trades just extremely well against what Classic has. Look at this. There's almost enough mines per unit. You have like 6 mines, and there's really not that many Protoss units. Here comes the Burrow. Classic is going to need one hell of an engagement if he wants to hold on for a little bit longer. I'm not even quite sure if that's actually possible here. It might just be game right now. Ooh, not the greatest move command there out of ByuN, I have to admit. This Immortal is actually putting in some serious work and is going to stay alive. Another Immortal pops out as well. This was a fantastic fight for Classic. I can't believe, first of all, that he managed to hold. And this isn't just a hold. The other ones were holds. This is destruction of the push. Might give him a little bit of breathing room. Disruptors are starting to get produced right now. We have a second robotics facility done. The Disruptor shows that the bay is already finished. I'm not quite sure where it is though. Where's that bay? Here you go. +2 ground weapons finishing up. Man, Classic's actually kind of doing it. Like, it's still supply, not brilliant. Yes, the worker count. He's still down in that. Can start thinking about a fort base right now though. Only thing we're and run-bys, very important in this matchup. Run-bys are so darn important in this matchup. And this really is going to be the first time that ByuN needs to be careful of Zealot run-bys. Because before this, the moment Classic would have done a Zealot run by, he would have had 0 Zealots at home. So it wasn't possible. Here come the Disruptor shots. One shot. Oh my god. ByuN not paying attention to his army for 4 or 5 seconds. And that's going to need to pay a price for that. This is a single force field choke. So with that, well, not if you put it like this. It's a 3 force field choke almost. Zealot run by is going to move in. Will get caught here most likely by this Marauder Marine Force. At least if we see a stim. Charge loss, of course, is very, very quick. We will be capable of escaping just barely, it seems like. Fort base at similar times. We don't have a second forge yet, which I wouldn't completely mind. And we're seeing a continued Disruptor production rather than adding some Colossi. I love Disruptors, and I think Disruptors are really good. But in order to move across the map, you usually do need some Colossi at some point. Because they just have way more consistent damage output. And defensive Disruptors, they just aren't as brilliant as aggressive Disruptors. Because the Terran can just kind of go back and forth. They don't have to engage in this army. Oh my god, but ByuN is going to. He snipes 2 Disruptors just like that. That means that there's only 3 Disruptors left. No, that's incorrect. There's 4 according to this information. Oh, there's a random Disruptor standing next to the rock. Making friends. Oh, poof. Well, not making friends with that mine apparently. Mine gets taken out. These 2 Zealots will, well, at least for now, be safe. 67 workers for Classic. 2-2 is about to finish up as well for ByuN. It wouldn't surprise me if that... Ooh, that's an interesting stint. Relatively low on his entire army already. It splits. Well, not the greatest there. One of those Disruptors on the high ground actually got taken out. Another Disruptor shot completely misses. Is there any Disruptor still available? Oh, this mine was providing vision on the high ground. I didn't quite realize that. I was like, how did ByuN know where these Disruptors were positioned? How is his micro this good? Another Disruptor shot is going to connect with 3 Marauders there. ByuN gets pushed back. Classic holds. And once again, every single time he holds, it feels like he gets in a better spot. You can hold by just barely staying alive, but it feels like Classic holds and keeps some of the key units alive as well. Before those were Immortals, now they are Disruptors. I still would love to see a Colossi hero there. Colossi are such an extremely useful unit to have. Okay, see a big scan forward. ByuN smells blood in the water here. Wants to go. First Disruptor most likely is going to get taken out. Yep, that was free. This means there's only 3 Disruptor shots left. See a scan forward. ByuN sees that there's 3. Now sees a 4th one come in. Needs to judge whether he thinks this is worth it. I think he can. Yep, can definitely take this out. Hop, hop, hop. Oh, oh, there we go. Disruptor does get blasted. Couple of Zealots are going to charge in. Yeah, once again, a Colossi here would be so great for this against this type of move because they deal so much damage against Marines. It means that only Marauders can move forward. It means that Zealots are very useful. Zealots work very well against Marauders most of the time. This is a pure Stalker Disruptor army. Stalker Disruptor also is quite weak against multitasking armies. Once again, because you're not relying on consistent damage output, but you're relying on these big type of shots to hit. There's a lot of Zealots, by the way. Holy crap. How many is that? It's 24 Zealots there on the left side. Oh, here comes the flank out of ByuN. He's actually going to get a lot of these Disruptors before their shot finishes up. But at the same time, some of these Disruptors do hit their Purification Novas. Zealots moving in now towards... Well, I'm not quite sure where they're going. Seems like they all want to go towards the 3rd base. Disruptors are going to get sniped. Not quite. Not a single shot is remaining though. And all of these final Disruptors will end up dying. This was not the type of attack that Classic needed right now. The type of attack Classic needed was an attack where he takes it slow. He goes in very patiently. Uses all of his Disruptor shots all the time without being engaged into. He just kind of jumped the gun there. Now needs to pay the price. Disruptor count completely reset. Dark Templar are on the way, but Dark Templar are so much better if you have a major threat on this 3rd base with your Stalker Disruptor army. Now these DTs might actually get spotted. I think ByuN sees that. No? He doesn't see it? Oh, wow. Surely I thought he would notice that on the screen. That was fairly obvious. That was a huge error. Now he sees some units being taken out. Big Stalker flank as well. Disruptors coming in from the back as well. All of these medevacts extremely low on energy, by the way. Where are the DTs? We see them moving in towards the 4th base. Classic not really controlling them, though. Yeah, this army is just going to stim itself to death if ByuN isn't careful. 3-3 is finishing up in about half a minute from now. Ghosts are on the way, too. Here comes the DTs. We'll be taking out a lot of these bio units. Interesting blink forward. I'm not quite sure if I like that too much. Second blink forward. He's going to save at least some of these DTs. This is a big army here coming out of Classic. Where is ByuN's army? Feels like he should have a lot, but he doesn't. Ghost coming in from the side. There's still a bunker alive as well. 2 Vikings are going to start landing right now. Bunker actually helping out so much. Infantry weapons level 3 not quite done yet. But in 7 seconds from now, they will be here. Maybe it's too late already though. Feels like Classic actually broke ByuN's defense. And despite ByuN's earlier hold, it feels like Classic just did barely enough. With those DTs, with the Disruptors, with the Stalkers. And while only having 3-1 upgrades, it seems to be enough. I think it is a little unlucky, or perhaps a mistake out of ByuN, to try and attack before the 3-3 finished up. I think 3-3 is so big, especially if your opponent doesn't have a lot of armor upgrades. Like, these Zealots are just going to melt so quickly. These Stalkers will melt fast as well. Also, given the fact that there were ghosts on the way, I think this push out through the middle of the map, in retrospect, was an error. It really was an error. Main orbital command is going to start floating towards the 3rd base location. 1 DT tries to blink away, but will not quite make it. Now, this game isn't necessarily completely over, but it is pretty over. There's so many Disruptors at this point. 10. It's just a pure bio army with low eco for ByuN. That's just going to be painful. EMP's not hitting quite yet. Good splits out of ByuN. You see the army kind of being split. Oh my god, that Disruptor hit more Zealots than Terran units. I just don't think it's going to matter whatsoever. You can just force a split on these armies moving towards the natural. Need to be somewhat careful though. Don't want to get surrounded by a massive Terran force. But yeah, this is exactly how you want to be playing it. More Disruptor shots every couple of seconds. And even if you just take out 1, 2 Marauders, 1 Marine, a Mine here, a couple of SCVs, that's all you need. Because the Terran isn't killing anything that belongs to you. And that's just the most important thing. We don't have any vision here for Classic. But it wouldn't surprise me if this Observer sets up over here. Sets up shop at some point there. More Purification Novas coming out right now. And I just believe this is going to be it. Don't forget that even if they don't kill anything, they always force splits, and that lowers the damage output that the Terran army has. Disruptor is just such a perfect unit for Protoss. Colossi finally coming in. Thermal lands on the way as well. And, we're just waiting for ByuN to realize that the game is over as well. As Classic managed to do it after a very rough start, can we say. Holy crap, that was a difficult start. 8 workers against 2 Reapers and a Hellion. GG gets called. Classic wins this game. Fantastic Protoss late game. Continued expanding as well. Look at that. Went up to like a 6th base over here while playing against 4. Cool beans. Cool stuff out of Classic. That's going to be it for me today. I hope you all did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you, and bye-bye.